Liberal Fox News commentator Jessica Tarlov brutally roasted Donald Trump in front of 4 of his most strident cultists at the Fox Propaganda Network after Trump rambled incoherently during a campaign event today instead of laying out a comprehensive economic agenda. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to talk about in this video, and it combines some of my favorite things: Jessica Tarlov and Donald Trump's increasing decline. He is a terrible person. He is unfit to be president of the United States. And the more Americans are exposed to that fact, the better off we will be, because hopefully it will deter people from voting for him in the upcoming election. But first, let's play the clip from Jessica Tarlov, and then we'll get into some of the clips of Donald Trump. Jessica Tarlov here takes a bit of a victory lap because she's had to endure her 4 MAGA co-hosts ranting and raving and demanding infinite minutia from Vice President Kamala Harris with respect to economic policy. And Donald Trump was supposed to deliver that on his end, and he nosedived, and she rubs it in their faces.
But today was also about Donald Trump's economic speech, and we watched a lot of it. And I would dare any of you to listen to his answer on childcare and tell me what the hell he was talking about. It was one of the more incoherent things I've ever heard. He thinks tariffs are going to pay for everything. We know that they're a tax on the consumer. But this really highlights a big problem that everyone is saying, well, Trump is so transparent and Trump's out there and that's all that matters. What matters is the content of what he's saying. And none of it is explainable. This issue, which is a big priority for people, obviously a central plank of what's going on in the Harris campaign, he doesn't have an answer besides tariffs. And J.D. Vance yesterday was talking about just have grandma and grandpa do more, that's some sort of solution for people. He's going to have energy prices, drill, baby, drill, even though we're producing more oil than we ever have before, leading the world, more tax cuts for the rich. And tariffs are the only way that we're going to be paying for it.
I think tariffs are designed to punish countries who subsidize their products.
And
no, for specific countries, they do. Look, I know.
You know what?
I know tariffs.
So I just want you to know something, okay? This is how you know that they know that everything she said was correct. Think about every time we review the 5, right? The Fox Propaganda Network in action. Greg Gutfeld, Jesse Waters, Janine Pirro, not so much Dana Perino, but Waters and Gutfeld in particular are so quick to heckle and mock and try to bully Tarlov. Here, she is so correct, and it's so undeniable that they're stunned into silence until Greg Gutfeld rallies there at the end and tries to say, well, listen, tariffs are designed to punish specific countries. Well, as every economist in the world will tell you, that's not how it works, because it's ultimately the American consumer who pays the price, quite literally, at the store for tariffs that are imposed on other countries. That's how it worked every time a tariff was imposed under the Trump administration when Trump was in office before. So as Jessica Tarlov says, it doesn't matter what the intent is. What matters is the end result, and the end result is predictable. At the end of the day, if Trump levies tariffs, punitive tariffs, I think on every imported good in the United States, it's American consumers who will pay the consequence. And again, when she says, I'd love for you all to explain what the hell he was talking about at the Economic Club of New York, none of them challenge her on it. None of them, not even Dana Perino, right? None of them speak up and say, well, listen, what he said was so coherent. And again, I love the fact how she's exposing that double standard. Donald Trump cannot and has never been able to give substantive policy-oriented answers to questions. It is a lie to pretend otherwise. If you don't believe me, listen to Donald Trump. Listen to him attempt to answer some of these damn questions related to childcare and other things. We're going to play some of these clips and unpack them together, but brace yourselves for maximum cringe.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. I was we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that, because look, childcare is childcare. It's couldn't, there's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country. Because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars, and as much as child care is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in. We're going to make this into an incredible country that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. Let's help other people. But we're going to take care of our country first. This is about America first. It's about make America great again. We have to do it because...
What the hell was that? Oh my God. That was objectively worse than literally anything that has ever left the mouth of President Joe Biden. If you're a conservative watching, if you're a Republican watching, if you're a centrist watching, if you are a person who has serious questions or doubts about President Biden's ability to communicate, if you are a critic of Joe Biden in this respect, let it be known that was objectively worse than literally anything to leave Joe Biden's mouth ever. The Harris campaign should just take that 2-minute clip and make every damn ad they possibly can. If 10 Americans see that, 8 of them, perhaps even 9, would say that Donald Trump needs to have his keys taken from him. It reminded me of a scene in, was it Billy Madison, that Adam Sandler movie back in the 1990s? I think it was Billy Madison, where he has to go back to school. And at the end of the film, he tries to give this speech about the puppy who lost his way. And he goes on this very passionately delivered non sequitur. And at the end, the debate moderator who asked the question was stunned. And he's like, at no point were you that was the single dumbest answer to a question I've ever heard. At no point were you anywhere close to a single coherent thought. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. That is the answer. That is the response that Donald Trump's rambling there necessitates. I'm stunned. I mean, like, Donald Trump has said some really stupid, ridiculous things. I probably shouldn't be as surprised as I am, but it was almost like he couldn't stop himself. Like, he probably in real time, he's like, oh my God, this is getting away from me. Like, he was vaguely aware of his collapse in real time. And he just kept going. I'll eventually talk my way out of it. Oh, something's make America great again. And then I'm stunned, totally stunned. That clip is something you should all keep in your back pockets anytime you hear anybody on the right or the so-called center try to defend Donald Trump as a genius or as a competent figure, someone who understands policy, or criticizes Vice President Harris and President Biden. Super pathetic stuff. How are we going to address child care costs? And then he just verbal diarrhea. Now, I will remind you that under the Biden-Harris administration, there was an enhanced child tax credit that was part of the American Rescue Plan, which every Republican opposed. No Republican voted for the American Rescue Plan. And then when the time came, after it cut child poverty in half, thanks exclusively to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the Democratic Party, when the time came to renew that enhanced child tax credit, which cut child poverty in half and made it easier for people to take care of their children, still not enough. but a major step in the right direction. One Democrat, Joe Manchin, and 50 Republican senators voted to not renew that enhanced child tax credit. The Republican Party is not the party of families and children, even though J.D. Vance is constantly on tour. Apparently, he was in front of every damn podcast in the world talking smack about people who don't or can't have children biologically. So they talk the talk in the worst possible way, I might add. They never deliver. And Donald Trump's total obliviousness, like it never even occurred. What the hell what do you mean reduce child care costs? Well, I don't like my children. Do you like your children? I mean, why would I? Well, you want to take care of your children? I wish I took care of mine less than what I did. My God, I have to have a cue card to remind me of what my children's names are, except Ivanka. For obvious reasons, I remember who Ivanka is. It doesn't even register with this man that people want to reduce costs for taking care of their children. He has no answer for that whatsoever. But wait, there's more.
For 4 straight years, I fought for American workers like I would fight for my own family. I took care of our economy like I would take care of my own company. For 4 straight.
I don't know if you want to be saying that in public. As a reminder, Trump Media and Technology Group, Truth Social, Truth Essential, is just in free fall. Like it is constantly just dropping. Plus, he's had so many bankruptcies or whatever. I don't think you want to tell people that you took care of your country like you took care of your companies. Although, again, kind of makes sense given that he inherited, much like it's actually so beautiful. I mean, it's so beautiful. It's actually totally perfect. Trump's right. He did take care of the country like he took care of his companies because he inherited something really, really good, just as he did in the business sense. He inherited, $100 million from his father, Fred Trump. Likewise, politically, he inherited a recovering economy, a recovering country from President Barack Obama, who had to spend 2 terms digging the country out of the mess left for it by the previous Republican president. And then in 3 years, Trump drove it into the ground and presided over a botched pandemic, which killed 500,000 Americans on his watch and contributed to the deaths of another 500,000 because he allowed the virus to proliferate and didn't do his best efforts to corral the virus, the economic consequences as well. I guess Trump was right on that. He did take care of the country like he took care of his company. And that means he should be nowhere near the C-suite or the executive boardroom. And he certainly should be nowhere near the White House as a consequence of that. But absolutely staggering stuff. Folks, again, Jessica Tarlov was right to call it out. The Fox hosts that she was rubbing in the face of were right to keep their mouths shut for as long as possible because there is no salvaging that disastrous performance at the Economic Club of New York by Donald Trump. And that means you and I and everybody else have an obligation to make sure it stays in the news and goes as viral as possible. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.